My guests today are the 4 stars of Roundabout Theater Company's dazzling new production of the Jerry Bach, Sheldon Harnick, and Joe Masteroff musical, the jewel box of a musical, She Loves Me. So without further ado, please welcome Laura Benanti, Zachary Levi, Jane Krakowski, and Gavin Creel, the stars of She Loves Me.
That's upside down. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming out on such short notice.
So, first of all, I was telling you backstage, this was the prototype. Look at Radio City, look.
Yeah. I see it. No, actually, the ceiling is very similar, isn't it?
Yeah, see, right? Yeah.
Yes.
1/5 size.
Exactly.
Not even 1/5, yeah.
Welcome. As we get started, I have to say, but this production of She Loves Me is perfection in every way. I know a lot of you have seen it, right? You all look like you're having the time of your lives with this show.
No.
No, I think, see, I knew that. What has made this so special for each of you? Laura?
Well, for me, I grew up listening to the record, the original cast album recording that my mom had, and Barbara Cook is my idol, so I wore that thing out. And, you know, normally as a soprano, as a coloratura soprano, you don't get to be funny. You get to sing beautiful songs and then, like, swoon and cry. So to have an opportunity to sing this score and then also have, you know, comedic moments and also truthful and sad moments is really nice and refreshing and not something that I get to do a lot. Yeah.
I grew up listening to the original album as well. Barbara Cook is my idol.
And it's not true. He's lying. He's a liar.
We, as a soprano, it's difficult to... no, I don't know, man. I grew up doing a bunch of theater, but you know, like school theater and community theater and stuff like that, and always dreamt about making it to Broadway one day. And, you know, a couple years ago when I did First Aid, I got to do that. But to have an opportunity to join this insane cast and crew.
Like mentally ill.
Yes, mentally insane. This one. And, but you know, and our leadership, you know, having, you know, being led by Scott Ellis and Warren Carlyle and Paul Gimignani, and it's just it's crazy, you know, for a Luddite, and I really do feel like I'm a Luddite. I mean, we have conversations sometimes about various like Broadway shows or people, and I'm like, who was that? Who are you talking
Accurate.
about? It's accurate. It's accurate. But I don't profess to know what I don't know, and I also do really love learning, and so I, you know, both in First Aid and in this and everything I do, I try to sponge it all up, and so it's been an incredible ride, and I learn from all of these people so much. You know, they're veterans, and Michael McGraw and Byron Jennings, and I mean, hell, I learned from Nick Barish. He's 17 and he's got one more show than I do. So, you know, it's all that. Jane.
I've had a long-standing relationship with the Roundabout. I consider them my New York theater home and family, pretty much, because I've gotten to do a few productions with them. And it was very important to me and to be a part of their 50th anniversary. And so because I had the great pleasure of doing a sort of gala performance of She Loves Me about 5 years ago with Gavin, was also in it at that time. I had gotten a little bit to test drive Alona, and on that one night, and I completely fell in love with her and the show, which I had seen as an audience member, but didn't fully understand until we were working on it how well crafted and well written the show is. And that is a great joy for me every night. I mean, I find new lyrics every single night. And I'm just like, that is so smart, it's so clever, it's so exactly right for this character or your character. And so initially it was to work again with Scott Ellis and the Roundabout, and I was thrilled that I was able to be a part of their 50th anniversary.
Yeah.
These people are why I was there. Truly, I kind of just was excited to be in the room where it happened.
Get out.
Get out.
I really was. I was just honored to be asked, and I love theater. I'm a theater baby. Like, I think it's funny that I'm on this panel of SAG-AFTRA because I've done 2 things on television, and these people basically run television. But I'm a theater lover. I love what theater can do. I love that we can come together like this and kind of collectively connect in a way that each night changes. And I just feel each job when they say, would you like to do this? I kind of go, me? And I'm really happy to be up there with these guys. So,
Yeah. You are all flawless in what you do on stage. And these characters you have created are the perfect melding of talent and material. Did you each pursue these roles? This is a role you wanted, right?
Yeah. I've been wanting to play this part for a really long time. So when it came my way, I was pretty psyched about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Kelly O'Hara.
What do you love the most about her?
About Kelly O'Hara?
Yes. Amalia.
Oh, about Amalia. Sort of what I said before. I love her spunkiness, especially in 1930s Budapest.
Yeah.
To get to play a woman who's not just listening to what men say. She's fighting for a job. She's fighting for herself. She's fighting for love. She's fighting for her integrity. She's putting herself on the line and doing it with humor and grace and stumbling, and she just feels very human to me. And a lot of times I feel like soprano roles, I feel like they sort of break it apart. It's like the belter is sassy and funny, and then the soprano is like pretty and like wide-eyed. And I think with both of these female characters, especially the fact that it was written in the 60s, they feel so fully drawn to me, and they feel so real and not antiquated in any way. So yeah, I was drawn to it for that reason.
Yeah. Zach, for you.
Oh, same question. No, I didn't know the show. I was singing at a benefit in LA. There's a few different benefits that they do. Actually, I think one of them unfortunately is not happening anymore. But where they would get various like Broadway or TV talent to sing Broadway shows. Or Broadway songs, and I remember the music director for one year. We were trying to pick a song, and they go, "Why don't you do this song?" I can't remember if it was "She Loves Me" or "Tonight Today," but they said, "Why don't you do this song from She Loves Me?" And I was like, "I don't know. I've never heard that before." And so I bought the album. I know this is ridiculous.
I'm sorry,
What
everybody.
the hell am I doing here? In fairness, She Loves Me was only on Broadway for 8.5 months in the 60s and a year in the 90s. So who here saw it before this one? Okay, a few people. All right, put your hands down. Still the minority, I might point out. Point is, so I listened to it and I was, but it was like kind of up on the deadline to learn all the lyrics, and there's a lot of lyrics, and I was like, I'm just going to do a song that I knew. I think I did something from Oklahoma or Bye Bye Birdie or something. I don't know what I did. Both great shows. And so I actually owned the album, and then so when the offer came through, I was like, oh, wait a minute, I own that album. And so I listened to it, and I listened to it, and I listened to it. And I think like with any music, whether it's Broadway or pop or whatever, it is that kind of thing where you might listen to an album one time through, and it doesn't really stick with you, but then you listen to it a second time through, and the more, like when it's great music, and it just keeps like layering on, and you start hearing more and more of the lyrics and the authenticity of the intelligence of the lyrics and really how brilliant the music. I mean, I'm a really big Disney fan, and Sheldon and Jerry weren't Disney guys, but I really feel like they have a really kind of like a magical, whimsical thing about how they wrote music and lyrics that really kind of also lends itself to that world. And I was just like, yeah, this is really great. And though I didn't even know it at the time, after I read the kind of sheet on, when the offer came through, and then I was like, oh, wait a minute, this was The Shop Around the Corner, and this was You've Got Mail. This is the same kind of premise. And so while I might not have known that this was a role that I always wanted to play, because I'm a massive Tom Hanks and Jimmy Stewart fan, this very much was a role that I wanted to play, even though I didn't know it. And then I got to do it. So thank you, Josh Radnor. In the same.
We should send them something.
We should send them flowers. Jane.
We just have to follow you in this order. Okay. What was the question?
Were you drawn to this character? Well, you did the.
Yeah. I had actually really been missing doing theater. I have been so more than blessed with getting to be on amazing shows on TV, which has been such a joy for me. But there's something in my heart and in my person that I feel me and I feel full when I do theater. And so I was really longing to have that feeling back again. I was excited to be scared. I was excited to have to learn the whole thing. I was excited to stay up past 8 since I had my child, PM, that is. And when Scott called, I said yes immediately because I knew it fit in my time slot that I could be here, which was so we had 2 weeks of overlap with Kimmy during my first 2 weeks of rehearsal here, so they were gracious enough to tolerate that so I could be a part of it. And so I'm thankful to them for that. And I feel like I've gotten everything I hoped to get out of this experience. I'm a group activities person, I've come to learn. And I love the collaborative process of the theater, and especially on this show. This show, and you may not notice from watching it, but it is so technically, I know it sounds strange to say that about She Loves Me, but the set is so technical, and every piece has to be exactly in the right place or it messes up the next guy, or the set can't close if you didn't properly hatch the stools, or so many little things like that. If a perfume bottle is out of place, it's not. And I love that. I love that I need Zach to put the letter in the right place, and I need Nick to put the gloves in the right place, and then I'll put the bench there for you. And so I feel like, especially with this ensemble, I've just gotten such an amazing collaborative experience with all these guys. I need him to push my leg up. This leg doesn't go up by itself, kids.
Contrary to what you've heard.
Woo! It's all true. But I also did, and I said this briefly earlier, I did really fall in love with Alona, because I love her optimism and her hopefulness, and I think it was the absolute opposite of the characters I've played for the last 10 years on TV, and I loved that. I love that she meant what she said. Yeah. She feels what she says, and her old-fashioned optimism. I just think there's a great beauty and simplicity in doing what I call pre-Sondheim shows. Because the people most likely meant what they said. There isn't pre-Sondheim, I think, is pre-subtext really in a lot of musicals. And I'm rambling on, but I didn't really understand that, and I had the amazing opportunity to do a production of Guys and Dolls in the West End, and I got to play Adelaide, which I think is one of the great roles of musical theater, and I adored every second of it. But it was the first time I had done a pre-Sondheim musical, and I kept talking to the director saying, I don't know what she means here. And he's like, she means what she says. And I'm like, no, she couldn't.
With a bushel and a peck.
Yes.
That's it.
Well.
And a hug around.
But it was so complicated to me to make it simple. Yeah. And then when I was able to let go of all of that and just mean what I said, the show was one of the best most joyful experiences I had had, because it elevates to a lightness and a place of magic because you're able to let it live where it's meant to live and not muddy it and not complicate it. Long story, but She Loves Me has that same sort of vibe for me, and so it has been a great joy to live in that place and time.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, I love that.
And then when I was 9, we only got an hour and a half, kids.
No, I was just gonna say, I never usually get to play parts like the part that I get to play. I'm usually playing more of the everyman and the sort of the straight guy in the middle, around which all the funny and crazy happens. So I was really excited to, I'm still figuring it out, and that's the weird thing about theater is I'm still in an education process right now. As each night I come out and I go, oh, I could do that better, but thank God I get to do it again tomorrow night or tomorrow afternoon, and I go, I'll try that again, or. And Kodai is, I guess people call him the bad guy. I don't see him like that, but it's awesome to play this kind of character. I never play this.
Yeah.
Elder, I was in Book of Mormon for about 3.5 years total in 3 different places, and I'd never done anything that long either, and I really enjoyed. I don't know that I'll ever know a character better than I know Elder Price, because I did it 1,300 some times, and it was like, and the only way you can't get bored. People ask this all the time. Well, how do you do the same thing over and over? It's if I don't try to find new little ways to say it, and I love watching these guys, especially because I watched you last night at a moment in the play. I won't bring it up because we hate when people do that. But I was watching and I was like, oh, she's never done it like that before. That's cool, because that's how I want to try to be when I look at Jane's eyes. It's some nights it's this, and some nights it's tiny. It's tiny, but we want to. So with Kodai, I just started, you know. And because I've never played this before, I fail a lot of the times. I get out and I go, that could be better. But I love it. I've gotten, I think, more confident in my goodbye song. I've been like enjoying it more. In the beginning, I was just terrified of dropping that cane, which I have, and anyway. But
I didn't know there was a silent F in front of the word cane.
Yeah,
That's
here it comes.
cane.
You dropped your cane once, and it was one of the great joyful moments for me, because you yelled at your cane in front of the audience. You went, ah! It sounded like bravura, like, ah, but he was like literally angry at his cane.
No, you're talking about the technical end of like stools have to go in, all this stuff. Have there been little mishaps for each of you, like your cane? Has there been something for you, Jane?
Yes, there must be. I mean, little things go wrong every night, but that's what sort of keeps you on your toes and excited. Come back to me. I'll think of a good one.
Zach, anything like the code or any of your hats?
No, I've been perfect. I'm really OCD about stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, no, I don't know. Yeah, I think there's probably been, you know, sometimes like I'll preset, you know, I have various things that like different letters and things that are preset, and I like to pull them out in a very particular way. And sometimes I don't know if I'm warming up or I'll forget to check a particular letter, and then I go to pull it out, and then I realize it feels different in my hand, and then I looked, oh, that's not the right way, and then I gotta. But that's a little thing. I mean, I typically, I mean, I worry so much about the big stuff, like the stools and stuff, you know, because that's major. If we don't put the stools back, then the whole show stops. Like it's literally like it's that important. So, you know, probably one of the most ridiculous little things, but it is Laura and I have to put the drop cloths back on the counters at the end of the show. And they're these beautiful, they really are. They're the bane. Yeah, they really are. They're these beautiful drop cloths, but like in rehearsals we had muslin. They were like you know, like cloth, like terry cloth. They very easy, and they were one. But these they
like a ShamWow.
They're like this really like chiffon-y kind of, but they're also double layered, and but at any rate, we have to put them on in a very specific way with the bows, although the center bow still doesn't.
Don't talk to me about it. I have nightmares about
It's such a pain in the ass. But we have to put them on in a certain way, and we have to get them between the stool and the counter, because when
I'm
they
literally not thinking about what I'm saying at all. I'm like asking you the most important question of the play, and I'm just like.
Yeah. Drop cloth. So,
Did
Mr. Novak, you're going to come over for Christmas Eve? Me and Mama? Yeah. So it's like, but, you know, and one night, I mean, literally, we were both trying to get this one to
like
be,
idiots.
and we literally, neither one of we're like, doesn't it go on this way? We can't, oh no, and we're still doing the scene, but that's about, I don't know. Now you all know.
I have dropped all my props on the ground. I have caught my little necktie in the box and almost been strangled like I was in a tiny noose. I laugh at literally anything. I'm like,
Yes,
I'm
you
the
do.
easiest mark. I will think about something funny that someone said the other day and I'll start laughing. I've dropped the ice cream on the ground. I hit myself in the face yesterday and it sounded like an earthquake because it hit my microphone. Pretty much I do something stupid every show.
I just remembered something else that happened the other day. I don't know why. I was leaving my song, and I have to slam the door shut on the button. It's like, bye, and for some reason, I went up and I went go die, and I was like, and then I just left. I miss.
Standing here at the door going, okay, I guess I'll shut it. Okay, bye.
But then I fell.
Oh my God.
Have you guys have seen the show? I fell. You know, it's like forced perspective, like a long city block. Well, I fell, and then I put my hand on the side, and an entire city block just started swinging. Yes! I turned around and I was like, oh my God, earthquake. Just shaking back and forth.
Oh my God, earthquake!
I was not. Budapest.
Only Michael Morrell and I were left on stage, and like we're literally going like this, and we're trying to look like we're not reacting to what's happening.
So Jane,
She's the worst. I'm the worst.
If you need to pull it together, do not look at Laura Benanti. She will not be helping.
No, I'm sorry.
What did Michael say at the window the other
Oh.
day?
That cat.
Oh my God! So when he's supposed to say that, oh look at that coat, look at that hat, he went, oh that hoe, oh that cat. I thought I was gonna die. I looked back. Jane is
Paul,
crying.
my optometrist. Oh, that hoe.
Meanwhile, all I'm doing is thinking back to when I was in middle school, and the first thing you learn is stay in character.
My character was laughing.
That's the first thing you learn.
We're all facing up stage, thank goodness, but you could see all of our bodies, and nobody turned around to say their line facing the other way.
Amateurs.
I promise I'm trying. I'm not trying to laugh. I'm trying to get back.
we all have to go back and see this again and look for all these things that happen in the show.
horrible.
That is hilarious. So you clean up after everybody. You close the doors. You move the stools. And you're like,
Actually, it's not me, it's Nick. Nick Barish is the most responsible, greatest guy, and he literally, if anything happens, they always send Nick out to fix it. There's leaves in the middle of our dance room. Nick picked them up when you go across. A present fell down or a perfume bottle fell down. Nick will do it. Someone forgot to send my coat. Nick will bring it in. Like, Nick is the most reliable. I mean, crazy talented, crazy professional, but I think also because of his role in the show, it's justifiable that he could come out and fix things and hand us things, but he really is he is responsible for our entire production is resting on a 17-year-old's shoulders.
Millennials. What are you going to do?
I love it. What is it like singing this beautiful score by Jerry Bach and Sheldon Harnick? And you had Sheldon Harnick and Joe Masteroff during the rehearsal process. How
Laura?
insightful and everything was that?
It's incredible. I mean, this is the most challenging score I've ever had to sing. And I've had to sing a lot of really challenging stuff. But this material is, for me, very, very difficult. And the trick is to make it look like it's very easy, which I do not always succeed at. But, these lyrics, as Jane was saying earlier, are just, they're perfect. It's not like, oh, now I'm singing a silly song. They are the continuation of a scene or a continuation of your character's innermost thoughts, and having Sheldon there was remarkable. He changed some of the lyrics in what's
Goodbye, George.
Yeah.
Goodbye George. Yeah, that was just remarkable to watch him change lyrics however many years later or decades later. It's thrilling, though, to get to sing this material. It's very rare as a soprano now to get to sing in your soprano. I mean, I fake belt and mix almost all the time because pop music is king, So I've had to do that in order to have jobs. But to be able to sing in the way that God meant me to sing is a joy, and I just try to let every note be thank you.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful.
I found it to be simultaneously incredibly awesome and incredibly nerve-wracking at the same time, because typically, again, I'd only done one other Broadway show, but clearly doing community theater, you don't have the original book writers or no, it's weird. They're not coming out to Ojai, California to be like, let's sit in on rehearsals and see what they're doing in this 120-seat house. So it's not that I had all that many opportunities to even have the original writers there, but I would imagine even doing Broadway, you don't always have them there, and so therefore what you are normally doing is you are just a collection of interpreters. Your director, your choreographer, your MD, all of the actors, we're all just interpreting somebody else's work, and you are left to your own devices collectively to interpret as you see fit to the best of your ability. But when you have the people who created it sitting there, then you're no longer just getting to be free to interpret how you see it. You're also kind of under their very watchful eye, hopefully interpreting it the way that they first interpreted it and want it to be interpreted, which again is also a great privilege because they created it. It came from their hearts and their minds, so that's pretty awesome. But then I'm also kind of going, well, I really hope I don't screw this up because they have a very specific idea. But I also think Sheldon and Joe were also very cool and they were also very positive. I mean, Sheldon would come up and that was the best I've ever heard it. But if you could do this, if you could do this, and it's like, great, cool, yeah, whatever you need. So it was, yeah.
It's been incredible to have them there, and I'm very rare to do an old-fashioned musical where the writers can be in the room. So it was super special, and Scott Ellis has an amazing relationship with both of them, as he sort of was the person who reintroduced She Loves Me after its initial run to New York. And Scott has done now 2 productions here of She Loves Me, this one, the 93 production, and one in London. So he's sort of the interpreter of She Loves Me at this point. So they trust Scott incredibly, and Scott was, so I thought, very wonderful, which is one of the challenges I think with doing revivals, is letting the people who are now in the room create their Ilona and their Amalia, because the ghosts of people who have played the parts prior, to me, are they're in my head and in my mind as an honoring. I want to salute them with what they did, and then, but yet still get to do my interpretation of it, because I think you have to make all your own choices, or they're not organic or real, or you're not portraying, you're not doing your own portrayal, and so, or your own thinking process, really. And so it was, I wonder, I would love to ask Sheldon Hart what it's like to see people change the way they interpret what they initially wrote. And the day that Sheldon brought in the new lyrics, it was such a sweet moment, because he had handwritten every piece of sheet music out that morning and brought it in for all of us, because we were in previews at the time, so they had to like get it orchestrated really quickly. And all the people who got to sing the new lyrics were waiting in a line to have Sheldon sign it for them, and it was just such a special thing. I mean, that's the last probably bit of that might be the last bit of new music, certainly for She Loves Me, that will happen. And so it was a very lovely day that we all got to share with Sheldon. Yeah.
I just wanted to mention Paul Gemignani is also sort of a legend. And in his own way, I felt like we were with a creator, even though he wasn't an original person with the original She Loves Me. But I loved the fluidity that he had with all of us in interpreting the songs themselves. There's a lot of push and pull, which when you do a revival, a lot of times I think you think they're not here, so we got to do what's on the page, and we got to do it the way it sounded on the previous recording, or the way that the notes, the values, the rests. And Paul will be like, "You want to take it up? You want to take it down? What do you feel like? How's it feel in your voice?" Yeah. Maybe we should lower it, make it sound like more a man, or maybe we should higher it and make it more exciting. Ilona it has a dance break now. It never had that. It has a key change. And I was excited. That key change came from David Crane when I first sang him in the room. And in my head, but I didn't have the balls to say it out loud. And I like to think that I used the power of the secret to make it happen. But I always envisioned Kodai, and I talked to Jane about this. I was like, I think this guy meets ladies in dance class. I think he's very in tune with his feminine side, but it's all about women and getting, oh, I dance. Yes, of course I dance. And knowing that Jane was such an amazing dancer. But Paul took that, he said the key change, well, we need to expand. It seems like it's coming too abruptly. And organically, from the idea of David Crane going, I think we should lift you on the, became this thing, and then Jane was like, I'll go into a split if you want, and then the rest was history.
By the way, I say that every day.
Yeah. But it was Paul Gemignani's willingness and the original writers.
And David and Larry, and I mean, yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, you listen to Nick Barish's song, Try Me. Oh. It is Herculean orchestration. Yeah. There's like this French horn. If you listen to it, it sounds like an orchestra, a movie orchestra. Yeah. And Nick is incredible in that number. but I think it's all of it, because the song is so great. He does it with such earnest energy, and that orchestration makes every night. It gets one of the biggest hands of the night, and it's a perfect storm. If Nick were to come out and sing it with a piano, he'd slay it. But that's what's great about musical theater. It's every single person operating on their highest game together that comes to the result that we get. You know, when people say, "Oh, I love the show. It's so good," I'm like, "Great," but it is. There's about 80 people in the building, and every single person is working at the top of their game. That's why I dreamt of going to Broadway and being a part of this community. It's everybody up there going, if I do less than my game, then I'm letting this machine down, you know?
Beautifully put. You are working with one of the finest directors. You started to talk about Scott Ellis. What makes him such a sought-after and great director?
I feel like Jane should take this
Why?
because you have
worked
such
with
a
him
close
so much.
relationship with him and you've worked with him so much.
Have you worked with him before?
I've only worked with him once.
This?
No, twice.
Oh, me too. So we're equal. Great.
You
Let's
go.
talk at the same time.
Go. Oh, wow, you really missed the
Do the thing like Scott Ellis.
We did a little night music at the LA Opera. Yeah.
That's a beautiful show too.
All right, I'll take it.
Oh God.
So, well, look, I think what it takes to be.
So Scott really is a great.
We should all. So what it takes, I think personally, and look, and everybody's different on their philosophies on this, but I think what it takes to be a great director is you've got to have really clear vision. You have got, I always liken it to like the captain of a ship. You have to know you need to know exactly how that ship sails. You need to know every rope, every winch, every pulley, every sail, every pole, how the ballast work. You need to know every bit of that ship, and you need to know exactly where you're going. And you need to be able to be adaptable to the conditions as they're hitting you. If you get a weird wind here or some waves there, or if you get some, mutinous...
We're taking this metaphor a
analogy
little
is
bit.
going hardcore.
This is a very... This metaphor is really...
I'm on the boat. I am on this boat with you right now. I'm like,
all right.
Where's that wind?
All right. Great. You get some weird characters that are on the ship that need to get whipped into shape or whatever. You need to do that and collaborate. And if one of your crew members comes to you and says, "Captain, we got a problem," you got to trust your. Is anybody else with me on this? Okay, fantastic. Thanks.
We're with you.
Anyway, so. No, I've always felt this way. I feel like, look, I've worked with a lot of different directors, and sometimes you get a director, and they are incredibly kind, but they're also incredibly kind of weak and meek and
Not a good captain.
and not a good captain. And I'm going, what do you want from me? Where are we going? I need to know what the destination is, because if you tell me, and by the way, there's also some strong captains, but they're also very so super ethereal. They're like, you know what? I don't know. We're going to go wherever we feel like going. And I go,
those are my favorite
oh, no, I can't take it. I can't
They're my
take
favorite.
I like
That's
it too.
my favorite
it.
rehearsal room.
I can't. I'm all about the collaborative process, and maybe as we're sailing somewhere, we go, you know what? We thought... Good night, everybody. Nobody wanted to talk about it. I start talking about it. Now I'm getting shit for it. That's fantastic.
No.
So Scott is
Does Scott do that?
assertive. He's got great vision. He's got balls, and I appreciate that. And by the way, when you step back to him and go, you know what? I really feel strongly about this. He has respect for that. Wow. And we all had moments throughout the process where there was push and pull, and he collaborated on that, and he deferred to his other people like Warren and like Paul. I mean, it was a really massive collaborative process, and I think that's what lends itself to making something like the production of She Loves Me that we have right now that feels very full. And and he's the first person to say it. He's smart because he also trusts really smart people like David Rockwell, who made our set. That's David Rockwell. That's Scott going and having little ideas, but David going, I think this isn't how it needs to go. And he goes, cool, let's go make that. And if you've seen the show, it's an amazing set,
I think Scott is also, now I will talk about Scott. I think Scott is an incredible leader because he's a director with an amazing amount of heart. And he knows She Loves Me inside and out, as I briefly spoke about earlier. But there were days, I've actually never had as much, I had so much fun rehearsing the show with all of you guys, so much that we were laughing all the time. And I think because he allowed that environment in the rehearsal hall, as well as Warren Carlisle and everybody else, that joy that we were having in the rehearsal hall and fun and humor was infused into the production. Certainly I mean, Alona, the splits and all that sort of stuff came out of just us kind of joking around and fooling around.
The whole
and then
number.
they were like, wait, that's it. And we were like, it is it, you're right. And so, like, it was so awesome for that sort of fun and magic to come out of collaboration. But there were days, like I remember Scott would say, is that the choice you're gonna make? And I was like, we were joking, because I was saying, well, there's no wrong, he was kindly saying there are no wrong choices, but there is usually one that's better than the other. And one day during previews, he came up to me, I go, I'm just not getting it. He goes, well, I know how to make it work, but I'm gonna let you find it. And which I think, but that's great. I mean, I wish I didn't have to do it in front of 1,000 people a night to try to find it. But he did know. Yeah. But he was letting me get there. He knew I wasn't getting it yet. But he doesn't panic. He lets you take the time to find it. And I just really think he's a great man. And I think he's very unsung, actually, as a Broadway director.
I agree with you.
Outside of Hal Prince, he's the only director that has had 3 Broadway productions on at the same time.
And he directs everything: musicals, plays, Shakespeare, drama, comedy, television. He does it all. He does it all.
Casey Nicola this season has 4.
4.
Whoa. Okay, so
Yeah. No. But there's very few people who have had that success in that way, and the diversity too.
He's brilliant, and he's kind, and he's fast. We had short days too. It's not like we were, there from 10 to 6, like bleeding and crying. Sometimes at 4 o'clock, he'd be like, all right, go home. It was amazing. And then you get to rest, and you get excited to come back the next day. And he's just a great guy on top of, everything they all said.
Then there's Warren Carlyle, who I adore also. I mean, Warren is like the best, and he's a director besides a choreographer, working with Scott on this, and they have a beautiful relationship together. Like you talked about the Alona number. I mean, that was never a big dance number.
No.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it ever has been before. But that was Gavin's idea. He called me, I think, over the summer and said, I talked to Warren, would you be willing to dance in Alona? Which I thought was just an inspired idea, because I do think it shows I think we live out our whole relationship. You see us chasing each other, you see us foreplaying, you see us basically have sex, you see the whole thing.
It's the first time for me playing the character that I was like, oh, I get him now. Was when we staged that number. And there's 30 minutes of the play that we've been working on, and I was kind of like trying to figure out, okay, so which soap should I pick up now? And I'll put this one back. It was really hard in the beginning, because Jane and I were both like, we do a lot up here, but we're not talking, but we're still visible, and trying to find that life. Once we got in the room,
shop life,
the shop life. Once we got in the room and did Ilona, I was like, I know who this guy is now. And each time we did it, I understood it more and more. But I haven't worked with Warren before. Have you guys? Before this?
I did the Spring Spectacular
that's
at
right.
Radio City Music Hall, starring the Easter Bunny.
Yes.
He made me dance like a rockette. I did those kicks with him.
You did.
Yeah.
Amazing. I think he's the best. The easiest way I describe Warren is that he's just a big yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yes.
That's
Everything
exactly
about him is
Yeah.
he's like, okay, let's try
And he
it.
says that I say yes to you. I say yes to you.
Good job. Good job.
He knew every single
Yes.
Rockettes' first and last name.
Oh, yes.
Every
Oh,
single, and
wow.
there's 7,000 of them. And he knew, I mean, it was amazing.
I just adore him. I can't say, this was my first time working about him. I could not say enough. I think he's one of the smartest, most clever choreographers. The show has very little dance, actually, so it was very lucky for us to get this collaboration with Warren Carlyle. And Scott, I think, really surrendered all the musical numbers over to Warren. They were Warren's material to do. And that's the perfect, he's like a lovable little British teddy bear. You just want to hug him all the time. But he's watching every detail that you're doing, and then will build a world out of it. And I only liken this story because I came in and talked to him once, and I said, we were rehearsing the very first scene, and I said to him, I see my Alona as a girl who runs through the perfume in the shop. I just wanted that spirit of somebody so, like that. And, I do that at home. Does anybody do that at home where you spray it because you don't want to smell too much? And so I didn't know how I never thought I'd actually use it in the show, to be honest with you. It was just an image or a tonal perspective that I had for this particular Alona. And he goes, oh my God, okay. And I could see his mind click. And then not only did he put it in the beginning, but then he made that be my whole character thing for Christmas. And that was not what was going to be the original plan. But I just think that's for me, I just thought that was so wonderful, and he gave me my Alona because of that.
Yeah. Zach, for you, the dancing you do in the show, Warren's dancing.
Oh yeah, well, first let me just speak to Warren really quick because I mean I just echo everything they say. He from day one, what I saw in Warren was he is just nothing but positivity. He's so loving. He's the type of person I think that really understands context of life. I mean, we were at just the first rehearsal, or it wasn't even a rehearsal. What was it? We didn't read it either. It was just like that meeting we all had, and I meet Warren, and he comes up to me and he's always smiling and yes, darling, yes, and he goes, how are you? And I go good, man. You know, like, how cool is this? We're making a Broadway show. Like, this is so amazing. How blessed are we? And he goes, I love that. Yes, I wake up every morning in New York and I think to myself, I live in America and it's so great. I love it. Since I was a little boy in England, I've wanted to live in New York and do Broadway, and I'm doing it. Yes.
He's the real Billy Elliot.
I mean, that's what it is.
He grew up in a mining town. Like, he is.
I mean, it's almost like too much sometimes. Like, you're having a bad day, and he's like, yes. And I go, I know, yes, but can I just... But I'm typically trying to be a pretty positive person too. So I love it when he is like unrelentingly positive. Like, he's unrelentingly positive. But then as far as like the dancing stuff is concerned, like Jane was pointing out, it's not that big of a dance show. And really, I do a little bit of dancing. I move around in both of my numbers a lot, but it's not like a lot of dance. But in She Loves Me, the only anecdote I could really kind of point out to that was, I loved that. I mean, I'm also the type of person, like, again, like, I like somebody to tell me, like, do this. Because I don't know, sometimes I'm like, I don't know. I'm not the choreographer, so I don't know, well, what would be good in this spot right here? Should I walk like this? Should I do one of these guys? Like, I don't know, you tell me. And so, but it all do a lot of that, and a lot of these guys. And, but it ended up being very seamless and very collaborative, and we choreographed almost all of She Loves Me, and it was all working pretty good. And then, but there was still, like, a moment, something that Scott and Warren felt like was missing. And then they said, we just want one more moment where it feels like you're like a little kid. And I go, well, I don't know. You want me to do a cartwheel? And they both looked at me like I was crazy, which I didn't realize. Apparently, if you're 6'4", doing a cartwheel is like, what is that? A magic trick? Like, how do you? Was that the black arts, the dark arts? And so I did a cartwheel, and they were both, yes, great, we'll do that. We'll do a cartwhel. And then if anybody's seen it recently, I hurt my hamstring, so I had to take the car. I know, sorry. It really makes the whole number, doesn't it? But so I had to take it out. But it was just that kind of stuff, I think that Warren really, and I think this is why he's also a very good director, and why Scott works so well with him, is because he's not just making dance moves up to be dance moves. He's doing things that complement your journey as a character and that are right for you, and that will hopefully then build into something as he's collaborating with you, like in Alona, that makes it something that's more than just what it could be, but not trying to be something that it's not.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
But like, Laura, for you, what I love about like the ice cream number becomes a showstopper, but it's this delicate little number. So what was it like working with Warren on that?
It's funny, both Dear Friend and Ice Cream, my two most difficult songs. Oh, and the duet with Jane, which is literally the hardest song for me, and I'm not joking. It seems like it should be so simple, but it is so rangy, and it's like talking. Ugh, it's hard. But I sit down. I have to sing my most difficult songs from a seated position. Which is challenging because you don't have your full, support under you. So, obviously I don't have any choreography, but except for a little bit in Where's My Shoe, which is not, that's just sort of running around. That's more about breath support. But trying to just figure out how to keep the audience's attention as a tiny seated person. On, not that I'm tiny, but, on the stage, being just a little person sitting down. So that, to me, was more about, like, the inner life of the character.
Beautiful. You know, Jane, when you started work on She Loves Me, I read where you said, I feel like every time I start something new, I don't know anything. I'm starting all over again, and I love that. Do you all sort of work on roles that way when you go in, you like start from the very beginning, like, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm gonna build this? Like you don't come in with any preconception of what you think it should be?
Sometimes preconception for me, but I always feel like a fourth grade actor. Like I always come in and I wish I could get more ballsy or more confident, but I also hope that it's what will eventually bring me to something that I go, oh, I stepped a little further that time. But I always, and I'm gonna get better at this because I turned 40 and screw that. But like this next decade is gonna be filled with like, you know what? I do actually know some stuff, and I don't need to punish myself before it begins. I for some reason I think it's because I grew up in Ohio or something. I don't know. But like I need to punish myself, and then I'll come to you. Yes, okay, I will submit to you material. I will submit to you director. Nobody wants that. They want you to come in and go, I got some ideas, but be collaborative. But I'm gonna work on that in the next 10 years. How about that?
Great advice. Thank you. Jane, so you start at the very beginning, like I have to learn this all over again.
I mean, yes, in the big picture. I mean, I come in having read the material and some obviously instinctual ideas of who I think she is for me, or whatever the part would be. But I think what I love, and I sort of slightly said this already, but what I love about doing theater is the collaborative process. And I think if you come in with a set plan, then you're not getting that. Yeah. And I love how whatever transpires that day in the room comes into your interpretation and into the play. And I've never done any role without the help, guidance, and interpretation of many, many other people. Even if it's an actor in the room that you don't have a scene with, Peter Bartlett and I don't know each other. We never see each other. He calls me June on certain days, and I call him Pedro, and we have this running gig, and he says, good luck with your career every time I walk down the stairs.
One time I heard you say to him, good luck with your performance.
Yes. Because we don't pass at all. I mean, our characters don't pass at all on stage, and I adore him. I think he's comedy gold. I think he's one of a kind. I don't know how he does what he does. I hope one day to learn how. It's masterful. He does one of the best impressions I've ever seen of it as well. But I just think, believe it or not, Peter being in the room, even though I don't do anything with him, colored all of our performances. We all get guided by how the show is molding together, I think. Whether you know it's happening or not, it's happening. Laura and I worked on 9 together before, and which was one of my great experiences of all time, and I really loved it. And maybe I shouldn't say this. Oh, that's the ones you really want to know. The ones I question. Yeah. I'm like, edit.
It just stays here and out in the world.
Yeah, and yes, exactly. Yeah. No, I'm not going to say it, actually. I'm going to re-edit.
I'll tell you later.
No, but I think there was, with David Laveau, who has a natural sensuality and a sexuality, we were being taught the play and the tone of the play and the world that David wanted to make without us even rehearsing, if that makes any sense. It was in the room at all times. And there was like a few days where I was sitting in the rehearsal side room with Mary Beth Peel and saying, are we rehearsing this? And then I realized, oh yeah, we are every second. This is what he wants. Us massaging each other. Yeah. I mean, rehearsal started for 9. It was awesome. With 10 minutes where we all massaged each other. And we thought it was just part of the warm-up. And Antonio did like a different girl every day of rehearsal, and we massaged a different girl every day of rehearsal. So we would feel the sensuality of every type of woman's bodies, and so did Antonio, and we could feel the sensuality of Antonio's body. And we're talking we were standing up and like rubbing each other's shoulders. I don't want it to go anywhere.
When are they going to revive 9 again?
In my mind, I was like 1, 2, 3.
But like that, you think you're just doing warm up, but no, we were all physically connecting and loving each other's blah blah blah. Anyway, so but I think if you come in with it, basically, if I came in massaged already, I don't think we would.
Got it.
You are
Look, I
on your
would've missed
figurative
Antonio
sailboat
Banderas
right now.
massaging me.
This is your sailboat, by the way.
You are so right. And good night. Thank you.
You had a great time working with David Laveau on 9, didn't you?
I did. That was a complicated time for me. I had
Yeah.
I had broken my neck and Into the Woods, so
Yeah.
I had to leave rehearsals and tech and go have spinal surgery, and then come. And so honestly, I was like pretty high for a lot of it, and also just in a lot of pain, and also 22.
Yeah.
So for me, those were my lost years, where I look back at my life and I'm like, oh my gosh, not only was that so difficult physically, but also I was 22 and just horrible. You know when you're 22 and you're like, ugh, why did I do that? Why am I a monster person? So I loved being around those women. You know, it was a complicated, I won't go on a sailboat, but you know, it was
You need to have your sailboat today.
it was a complicated time for me in that this was pre-internet, this was pre-Twitter, so I couldn't go online and say, the reason I'm missing shows at Into the Woods is because I broke my neck. So people were pretty mean to me. And so I think I came into the experience of 9 pretty hardened and scared and sad and young and lonely and in pain. So to then have beautiful women massaging me and telling me that they love me and treating me like a daughter was pretty healing. So for me, I don't even think of it so much as like a career experience. It put the pieces of my heart back together, because like that broke also with my spine. So honestly, I felt like I felt like every day with those women was a healing experience for me, where I learned to trust people again.
Yeah. Beautiful. That was such a stunning production. You can see how David works. I mean, you were all this beautiful ensemble of all these beautiful women of all shapes and sizes with Antonio there, my little boys. Cheetah took you under her wing, didn't she?
She really did. She I guess she saw how much I needed it.
Yeah.
You know, and she really she taught me so many things, and she loved me so fully and deeply, and she's so funny and fierce and encouraged me to get my sense of humor back, which I had lost. And I cannot say enough about her.
She taught you again how to bow.
She did teach me how
And
to
take
bow.
it. Would she stand on the wings? What would she do?
God,
Yeah.
this is so embarrassing.
Don't be. No, I love this.
So
Yeah.
I guess because I was young and like embarrassed about being myself. I don't know if you remember this, but I would come out at the curtain call when we were ourselves, and I would come out and literally, and I'm not going to exaggerate, this is what I would do. And she was like, "You look insane. You look like a caged animal." So then she told me that I needed to be in this position for a full 3 seconds, and she would stand in the wings and yell, 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, released. And she did it for like the entire run of the show. But also when I would sing Unusual Way with Antonio, she would stand in the wings every time I sang, and she would just do this. What? Like, that was crazy. So I would be looking in the wings at Cheetah and not looking at Antonio, which is totally unprofessional. And I don't care.
Thank you for that. Yeah. Going back to Zach about working on a character, did you start George from the bottom up?
Started
With
from
his
the
butt?
bottom.
No,
He's a real butt actor.
bottom.
He starts
She knows
from
me
the
so
bottom.
well. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I mean, with any character that I don't know. I mean, I don't have any training or anything, but just all the stuff that I've just done in life, and one of the things I love about acting is that it's very psychologically driven, and I really do believe it's as much as you can, it's about identifying with another person, even if you are playing that person, you're trying to make and create and bring that person to life as honestly as you can within the context of the piece itself. And every piece has a different kind of tone and feel and whatnot, whether it's comedy or drama or everything in between. But I don't know. I mean, I read the piece and kind of felt like I sensed what the overall tone was, the reality of that, and then where George fit into all that. And again, going back to the Jimmy, I had not actually at that point I had not seen The Shop Around the Corner. I saw You've Got Mail, but I had seen plenty of other things that Jimmy Stewart had done, and I don't know. To me, George is very much like other characters that I've played, and I do find that like it or lump it. I mean, as an actor, you tend to gravitate, whether it's you gravitating toward a role or a role that's gravitating toward you. You can tend to play a lot of similar characters, and okay. I mean, if that's Tom Hanks for the most part plays Tom Hanks. Julia Roberts for the most part plays Julia Roberts. I mean, and the reason why is because I would say is because it's the most honest version of whoever they are and what they connect to. And so George and Chuck and there's a lot of kind of strange like similarities in that they're very earnest guys. They really do care about their jobs, about the people that they work with, about life. They're a little aw shucksy, they're looking for love but what I loved about this particular piece and this character was I don't tend to do a lot of character work or like true character work, and what I felt like this piece allowed me to do was, because there's not another option when the dialogue is written in such a very specific cadence and tone, you can't speak, or I can't, maybe other people can, but I don't know how to sound like myself and George at the same time, because I don't talk like George talks. I'm trying to think of some examples, but it was very, I mean, we were talking about, like, it was difficult to memorize the lines because I kept inverting certain words because in my head it's like, well, that doesn't sound right. It should say this, that, as opposed to the other way around. But it's like, yeah, but that's not how they talked in the 30s or 60s or whatever. Joe was kind of the putting it all together in that way. So getting to do a throwback, even the way that I affect my voice a little bit to kind of, I think, because I think that's how people sounded back then, but maybe that's just the film version. Maybe back in the 40s, people actually sounded like we do, but in the films, they all talked like this, really, like, now say now. But everybody else is watching the movies going, we don't talk like that. Why are they doing that? But the script is written in a very specific kind of cadence and tone, and that was a challenge, but it was also such a great challenge. And so, yes, in some ways, it was starting from the bottom from there, but in other ways, I immediately identified with George. I immediately felt like, oh, I think I know who this guy is. And but I think the hardest, or I don't know, one of the challenges, but again, a good challenge is I don't typically sing Broadway music. I typically sing, or when, not that I sing all that much in all my illustrious recording career, but I like singing pop or I don't know, stuff that people know more, and or that you don't have to make such an emphasis on articulating every single word so that you can tell a story to everyone who's sitting in an audience who might not know what you're about to sing. And so that then, supporting that and singing in character and making sure that it's understandable, again, something that I learned when I did First Date, but that was a couple years ago, and then all of a sudden it comes back around, and I've been, singing other music. I'm like, oh, that's right. I really have to pronounce. And I can be very marble-mouthy sometimes. So anyway, I hope that answered your question. It probably didn't.
I want to go back to growing up and that defining moment for each of you when you said, I'm going to go and be an actor and try to make a living at this. Do you remember that defining moment for each of you? Because that's a big one when you say, I could become a doctor, a dental technician, I could be a veterinarian or whatever. But that...
All solid options, guys. All solid.
But that defining moment where you said to yourself, I'm going to go for this. It's a big step.
I was at dental school. I was in someone's mouth, and I was like, oh, what a beautiful...
Oh, what a beautiful molar.
Molar.
What was your moment?
Oh, I think it was simple. I had the most normal, quote unquote, normal life, and I was in high school, and I was in Bye Bye Birdie, and a lot of people. You know what? It was two things. I was in high school, and people were saying, "You're really good at this." And when I turned 35, I realized I had spent about 20 years, pretty much. I got a lot of highs out of the theater and performing and being paid attention to, which any one of us is going to lie if they say it's not part of it. It's very exciting as any
Don't
of
look
us.
at me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Any of us. I was teaching a class in North Carolina, and in front of these kids, we were having bag lunch together, and I just went, you know what, you guys? I think I figured life out. And they were all like, like little meerkats. And I said, I think we human beings, we just need something to do, and we want someone to pay attention to us.
Yeah.
I think that's it. Because when I don't have one of those things, I get real sad. And sometimes one of them is not there, or sometimes both of them are not there. My life is better when I have both of those things. I look across, I'm like, oh, hi, okay, you see me, you know. But I spent 20 years till I got 35 where I went, I think I'm doing this because everybody said I was good. Do I really like this? Yeah. And that question terrified me and has sort of set me free in a way. I'm still terrified of acting and singing and dancing and whatever, but I come to these moments in my life where I go, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. And just do the work, show up, and look and pay attention to someone else, because you can be that thing and for me, Bye Bye Birdie, playing Albert Peterson, and people saying I was good, I was sort of floated along in my sailboat. Along my own, I mean it. I sort of just coasted. I painted a big, over above my tub in London when I was doing Mormon, I was in a bad place, and I painted the word float on a canvas and put it above my tub. And I would look at it and I would think, life is so hard right now, I'm so sad right now, I'm just going to let it take me. And then I had to question, do I really like acting? Do I really like this rehearsal process and this show? Do I really? Sometimes no, and sometimes yes. And for me, the moment was then and has been a collective now. Oh, Jesus.
Thank you. Great advice.
Jane.
You know, it's kind of hard for me to say what that moment is because this is all I've really ever known. Yeah. And this is a story that's been out there, so you may know this already, but my parents were not performers by trade. My dad was a chemical engineer, my mom was a teacher, but their passion and their love was theater. And so they worked at a local community theater from before I was born and from the time I was born. And we had very average middle class sort of lifestyle, and instead of getting babysitters, and because they couldn't really afford them as much as they wanted to be at the theater, they took me to the theater with them. I had like a little crib at this theater that I would go to bed. Literally, they'd put me to bed while they did their shows. Like I was there all the time, and yeah, and so that's where I saw my parents having fun from whatever my earliest memories are, and even before that. So it was always infused. I think it was infused in me that's where joy and happiness was. And it definitely, I don't know if I would even be doing this if it wasn't for that very early on influence. I remember, I was just thinking how strange this is the other day, because I was thinking about my childhood living room, and our childhood living room had family pictures around, but they were only my parents in different productions at this community theater. So like, there's a picture of my dad as Fagin and Oliver, and then there's a picture of my mom in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and you're like, wait, these aren't family, this is normal, right? Everyone has like their dad in a weird goatee and like dressed as Muddle in their house. But that's what I thought our family photos were. So all of this is so normal to me. Like I don't know how to be otherwise, really, in the best sense of the term. And another reason I'll just make this really brief, but another reason I really wanted to do She Loves Me was because my father was Kodai in She Loves Me at this community theater, and I've had two wonderful experiences with the Roundabout. That I remember very clearly my parents being in company and She Loves Me, and then getting to do them on Broadway, which was just something that was so, it seemed so, I only lived in New Jersey, it was only across the Lincoln Tunnel, but it seemed unattainable. It seemed, how do you get there? I didn't know how you did that. And I certainly never thought it was a possibility. And when I somehow started getting work in this business and when I got in a Broadway show, it was like too much for me to understand. And then to do a show that I remember, I only know the show because of my parents doing it initially, was I don't know what you even call it, but like sort of this out of body, how did I make it here sort of experience. I'm in the shows that I saw as a kid on Broadway. One of my weird moments was when I first met another Chita Rivera star. When I first met Chita Rivera, my parents, instead of driving in traffic, we would stay and just get standing room tickets for $9 then. It was a lot, I'm very old. And so we would just, instead of sitting in rush hour traffic, we would get $9 seats or go TKTS. Do you still have to wait on a line? You used to have to wait on a line. Okay, yeah. I thought it was all on computer now or something, but you used to have to wait on a line for hours, but it was so fun for the tickets booth, you know. So we would do one of those two options instead of sitting in traffic, which was so great because I got to see so many shows that maybe I never would have seen, not without that. But I so clearly remember being in the third row on the aisle, seeing Chicago with Gwen Verdon, Jerry Orbach, and Chita Rivera. I was 8 or 9 years old. And you know, at the end when they throw the flowers out, Chita Rivera looked at me in my eye and threw me a rose. And I've never forgotten that. And then skip all those years later to 2003, I'm in a rehearsal hall with the Chita Rivera in a show with her. Like, I didn't know how to, we've spoken about this a little bit, I really didn't know how to compute that. And I've never really addressed it with Chita. She just thinks I'm strange. Because she was too much of an icon for me to kind of understand how I could ever really know her or be friends with her or no less be on a stage with her. So I've talked way too much.
That's perfect. Thank you. Zachary, that defining moment for you when you said, I'm going for it.
I don't know. I don't know that there's one moment. I think it was just a collective of a bunch of moments as a kid. I mean, and you know, in circumstances. I mean, kind of, you know, speaking to what both Gavin and Jane said. I mean, I grew up, I was the middle boy between two sisters. I was basically just like in a sea of estrogen. Like it was my two sisters, my cousin Nikki, my two aunts, my mom, my grandma, all of their friends. Family outings was like going to JCPenney's. Like it was, and I would go find the circular clothing racks and turn them into little forts and like use my imagination to pretend I was, you know, like that was what it was, and maybe being a middle boy, and again, like you never know the things. Like, you know, I really do think that you know, later in life you get this really kind of cool perspective of looking back and going, oh wow, look at all these things that God could have used to kind of create the person that I am right now. And I think one of those things was maybe being a middle kid, and a lot of middle kids talk about, you know, kind of getting lost a little bit and fighting, you know, vying for attention, and maybe that was the case. And maybe in my vying for attention, I quickly found out that a really fun way to get attention and, you know, talking about being noticed or whatever was entertaining people. But it wasn't, but immediately, even as a young kid, I realized it wasn't just a matter of the attention. I genuinely liked bringing joy to people. I genuinely liked making people smile and laugh. I did impersonations since I was this big. I mean, you know, what cartoons, or I mean, I did Urkel for like 5 years straight. Like I would be hiking my pants up and with my glasses, and you know, and then of course Jim Carrey hit the scene, and I did every Jim Carrey impersonation, and but then you know, once I found out that, oh, there's theater, and that was like, I think in kind of middle school really. I was in 6th grade and they were doing Grease, and I auditioned and I played Sonny, one of the T-Birds, and then I was like, oh wow, so not only do you get to, you know, do I love entertaining people and bringing joy to them, but there's a structured place to do that within the context of theater. And then I found out, you know, and then I would have people come up to me throughout the years, other, you know, parents of kids or other kids' parents and certain teachers that believed in me, and they would say, you have something, you know, don't let this go, you've got something. And so I would believe more, and I believe, okay, and I really loved doing what that was, and then I found out, oh, this could be a career. You could actually get paid for this, and it, but I don't know. I mean, my mom, I would go to her when I was 6, and I would say, this is what I'm gonna do, and you believe me, I'll buy you a house one day and all that stuff. And she would look at me and go, oh, that's really sweet, honey. And I don't know. I just knew. I knew that I knew that I knew. And and some people come to it later in life, and some people come to it early. I remember when we were graduating from high school, and I was talking to kids who were going to college, and I say, oh, what are you going to do? And they go, oh, I don't know what I want to do. And it shocked me, because I was like, how do you not know what you want to do with your life? I've known since I was so little that this is the only thing I could possibly do. I love it so much, and so. It's all those collective things. But look, I don't know. I mean, I've always also said, if I get to a place in my life where it stops happening, and if God needs to take me in another direction, if I meet some, I don't know, some crazy chef, and I go, wow, you know what, maybe I just needed to do this all the way to get to that point to meet that person, and now I'm going to go be a crazy chef. Well, then maybe that's what it is. But I doubt it. I'm not very good at cooking, so.
Beautiful. Laura, for you.
Mine is similar to Jane's.
Yeah.
My parents were Broadway performers. My dad is an actor. His name is Marty Vidnovic. And my mom was a performer as well. And they went to Cincinnati Conservatory of Music together. And I did a lot of shows together. And then they got divorced. I'm fine. And I was very little. And my mom remarried my dad, Sal, who's a psychotherapist. She was like, guess what I'm going to do differently? I'm going to marry a psychotherapist and not an actor. And so we moved to New Jersey. And I don't remember a time where I didn't want to be in musicals. I think also partially because my dad lived in New York and my dad did musicals. And so that felt like that's where my dad lives. And that's where my dad does cool stuff. And so there was never a time where I wasn't singing. There was never a time where I wasn't listening to my mom's original cast albums of My Fair Lady and She Loves Me and, anything Brigadoon and Oklahoma and, and then I was like a real loner as a little kid. I didn't have a lot of friends. And in 4th grade, I had a solo, Castle on a Cloud, Natch. And everybody in my town was like, you're great at that. And I was like, got it. That's what I'm going to do with my life. Because then people like you. People go from being like, no, thank you, to being like, do you want to sleep over? And I'm like, yeah, but we're watching Some Like It Hot.
Fabulous.
None of this pretty and pink bullshit. But then similarly to Gavin, after I broke my neck, I was like, maybe I don't like being an actor. Maybe being an actor felt like the only thing I knew how to be. Maybe it was like not healthy in a weird way. And then I looked into that a little bit, and I reevaluated, and I had some wonderful moments and some hard moments, and I realized not everybody likes what they do all the time, but I love what I do 89% of the time, and I think that's a pretty great percentage. And there's rejection, and there's, all sorts of stuff that comes with it, and people wanting you to inject your face with things that are crazy so that you look like a lunatic. But somehow that's the standard of beauty that we're like, yeah, that's normal. Blowfish lips, those are great. So for me, like, figuring out how to maintain a sense of integrity whilst doing the thing that I love has been a challenge, as this is the only thing, A, I know how to do and have the skills for, and B, the only thing I ever wanted for in my life. So to get to have, and Jane and I actually, the community theater Jane was talking about is the Barn Theater, which is the community theater where I did all my community theater as well. And she was like a legend. I mean, the way that, yeah, oh my God. Yeah.
I didn't know.
You were. I did my first show, yeah, when I was in high school, people were like, well, Jane Krakowski's, Jane Krakowski. And I was like, I do know her. Like, of her. Yeah, it was amazing. You were like,
I had no idea. Honestly,
well, now
sincerely.
you know. Yeah. So yeah, that's it.
That is great. Thank you for that advice. We'll do a memory speed round. Here we go. Zachary, fondest memories of your TV series hit Chuck.
The fans, honestly, we had the most incredible fans. They fought for us tooth and nail every single year. They created what I believe to be still the most comprehensive and intelligent save a show idea ever by actually patronizing a sponsor. What a clever idea. Go and buy the things that we're trying to sell you on television. And it resonated, and we've had an incredible relationship with them for so long. So I would say the fans.
Perfect. Gavin, for you, winning the Olivier Award and playing Elder Price in the London production of the phenomenon known as the Book of Mormon.
Yes, I did that. What was the question again? I'm sorry.
Fondest memory of that.
My fondest
Speed
memory.
round.
The Columbia Road Flower Market, Bill's Breakfast in the Morning, amazing restaurants, amazing friends in the cast.
Perfect. Laura, winning every conceivable award, including the Tony for Gypsy.
Thank you.
Fondest memories.
Fondest memories? 2 words, Patti LuPone.
Okay. And how you landed your job on Nashville.
Tweeting.
Fabulous.
I tweeted that I liked Nashville, and then they offered me a
They
job.
gave her a job. Jane, the hit TV series 30 Rock and your new hit TV series Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. Same creative team.
I love it so much.
What was the question?
Fondest memory of both those shows.
Tina Fey, Tina Fey, Tina Fey.
Tina Fey. Zachary, playing a superhero. Fandral?
Fandral, yes, Fandral
The Dash in the Marvel Film 4. Thor fans.
Yeah,
Okay.
just that. I mean, that I get to be a part of the Marvel universe, and that I actually, I was supposed to, or I was cast in the first one, and I was super, super excited, and Kenneth Branagh directed it, and then Chuck got in the way, and I couldn't do it, and I was like, oh man, well, you got to let things go. And then all of a sudden, Josh Dallas, who ended up in the job, he had a conflict with Once Upon a Time, so then it came back, and I was like, wow, it is true. Sometimes when you love something, you have to set it free, and.
Gavin, working with Julie Andrews on the 2 Eloise TV films. Julie Andrews.
She's exactly what you think she would be.
Yes.
Exactly.
Practically perfect in every way.
Absolutely. Perfect. Just perfect.
Thanks.
You're good.
I'm so proud of you.
We're very proud of you. Laura, playing the Baroness on The Sound of Music Live.
Thank you. Side-eye. That's just my resting face, though, sadly. I didn't realize I was giving side-eye. That's just how my face looks.
Fabulous. Jane, playing Elaine on Ally McBeal.
Christmas musical numbers.
Great. This is our final question of the day. I'm going to start with you in case you have to run. What is the best bit of advice that you've been given, either personally or professionally, that you live by?
That when you meet someone, they tell you exactly who they are. Mary Beth Peil told me that. She said, if you meet, because I was like, why do I have such a hard time with boys? I keep dating these mean boys. And she was like, because you don't listen to them when they tell you who they are. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, the minute you meet someone, they tell you exactly who they are. And you just choose to ignore them. And I was like, damn,
that's
son. And then I
deep.
got married 2 more times. Bye.
You go there. She's going to go there for a second. Woo! She's off to the ladies' room.
I think she was leaking as she was going. She just leaked on the way out.
Zach, for you.
Well, I don't have to pee, so I'll take a little more time. I don't know. I mean, it's probably stuff that I've talked about before. I think the best advice that I could give anyone is. I mean, it's not even necessarily professional. It's just personal. And again, I kind of sound like a broken record. I talk about this stuff a lot, but kindness is so important in life, and it costs nothing to be kind. And by the way, and also be kind to yourself as artists and as actors or musicians or anything in the arts. It's very easy to harsh on yourself, and especially when you have critique that floats around. Now we're in this season of this world and things and opinions and I'm very harsh on myself, and I think a lot of people would say that they're their own worst critic, and so maybe other people can relate to that, but I want things to be so awesome. I want somebody to walk away from She Loves Me and feel like they got overserved with awesome and excellence. I don't want anybody walking away going, yeah, that was pretty good. Like that's the worst to me. I would rather somebody walk away and go, you know what, I didn't like it, or that was the greatest thing I've ever seen. But when somebody walks away and they goes, yeah, I thought it was pretty good, I go, oh God, what did I miss? What could I have done more? Like what? And so that's very difficult. So you got to be kind to yourself and be kind to others. And going off of what Laura said, when people show you who they are, don't allow someone to steal your worth. Don't let someone dictate to you how much you're worth, because you are worth so much. God has created all of us to be worth so much. So if someone is not respecting that and not valuing your worth, just very kindly say, bye-bye. That's it. You don't have to attack them back. You don't have to take away their worth. Just say, bye-bye. Have a great day. I'm out of here.
Beautiful.
Jane. Okay.
Jane, best bit of advice.
The best advice I was given was to take the baby wipe warmer off of your baby registry for your baby shower. Because once your baby gets used to warm butt wipes, you cannot go back.
That is hilarious.
Gavin?
That's it? That's the one? Vote. Vote. If you don't like the way the world is working, change it.
Yeah.
That's not the best advice I've ever been given, but that's the advice I want to give us all right now. Like, if you don't like the way it's going, there's nothing worse than somebody who just complains and doesn't do anything about it. Just do something. But my best advice I always say for every time is other people's successes are not your failures.
Yeah.
And when you really take that to heart, it makes this unbearable business bearable. Yeah. Like, for example, today the Drama Desk nominations came out and I'm not on it. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. But I'm telling you, that's the advice I give so many people. It is just one of those things where people, they can succeed, and I had to call my agent, my best friend, and go, crap, am I sucking the hind one here? No, I'm doing what I know how to do. I'm doing the best that I can. It doesn't mean that I have failed. It means that there's enough room for success in the world, and we can all have a bit of it from time to time. But we can't believe our own hype or take ourselves too seriously. Like, it just is what it is, and we're going to have an awesome show tonight as She Loves Me, and I'm going to do really great work.
I thank you for one of the most beautiful afternoons.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Besides the advice, the company of She Loves Me, Laura in the ladies' room, Zachary Levi, Jay Krakowski, Gavin Creel.